I'm sorry, that's wrong what I just said. He was the single person convicted by a jury in such a prosecution for rape. I wasn't. And the next case was brought against the APAC members, the American Israel Political Action Committee, which was dismissed by Obama for a number of reasons. So we had one conviction. Obama has brought, until yesterday, 4 such cases, or more than all previous presidents put together. And the 5th indictment was brought yesterday. 5. If he goes after Assange, it'll be 6, twice as many as any previous prosecutions. In other words, Obama is using that act as the equivalent of an Official Secrets Act in Britain, which criminalizes all release of any classified information. Everyone probably, almost anyone in this audience probably, everyone assumes there is such an act in this country to start with somewhere. Must be something that makes it criminal to release classified information. So it's being said, universally almost, that Assange is obviously done something illegal. As I've said, that's very much in question. You can't say that he hasn't done anything that might lead to prosecution. He did, well, actually, he's in the position of the New York Times. His source, let's call him Bradley Manning because he's accused and suspected. He hasn't been proved and he hasn't pled on this. But I'll give him the honor, I'll give him the credit of using him as the possible source here, whoever that is. He's sitting in a prison right now in Quantico. And he's the counterpart to me on this. Well, he's accused of U.S. 793D, having authorized access and unauthorized disclosure, as I was. As I say, I was the first. Now, the reason we don't have an Official Secrets Act, which clearly criminalizes this, is, as I've said, because of the First Amendment. It's always been held that such a law, which many administrations have proposed, and the CIA has lobbied for it for years, such a law has always been rejected, with one exception. That Congress always rejected it on the grounds that it simply restricted freedom of speech by far too much. Too many secrets would be kept from the public that should not be kept. Classification system is so enormously broad. It involves then to say that to release anything from it is just keeping too much from the public that they should know. So it would be unconstitutional in this country, even though you have it in Britain and you have it in most countries. To use this act then effectively, surely what Obama is trying to do, I would say, is one of 2 things, both. Ideally, from his point of view, since he wants to stop all leaks, they announced today, in connection with this new case, we're against all leaks. This was in context of being asked, what about Bob Woodward, whose book is entirely based on leaks of top secret information? We're against all leaks. That's it. The president pointed out he refused to discuss classified information in the hour he spent with Bob Woodward, showing his commitment to secrecy. But the book, of course, is filled with quotes from classified documents that were given by members of Obama's administration. There is no U.S. law that could be used to criminalize Assange or WikiLeaks, which would not apply exactly equally to the New York Times, or to any of the newspapers that have done this, or, for that matter, to any network, any media, anybody who picks up the information which they know they are not authorized to get, they weren't authorized to give, and if they give it, they're guilty under this reading of the Act. So that would be an enormous restriction then of speech in this country. It would make a big difference if we had the effect of an Official Secrets Act. And I'm saying what Obama clearly wants to do is to get a conviction. And of course, one of the factors here is that Assange is being demonized, a very unpalatable character, and openly his execution even discussed a great deal. But the sex charges against him, of course, helped to make him a good vulnerable, it looks like, to conviction by a jury. And to get that upheld on appeal, and to get it affirmed by the Supreme Court, and this Supreme Court might uphold it, where 20 or 30 years ago that might not have happened. and then we'd have the effect of an Official Secrets Act, which would mean, by the way, that finding the source of a leak would become very routine, very easy. You don't need any investigation. With a clear-cut crime of a leak, and I'm saying a leak might be prosecuted, it might be held to be illegal, but it's far from being a clear-cut crime at this moment. If it was a clear-cut crime, all you'd have to do is have a grand jury call in the journalist whose byline is on that story and say, we're not accusing you of anything, we just want to know who committed the crime, who gave you the information. And if they refuse, as Judith Miller did for 85 days, they go to prison, like Judith Miller. Most reporters would not go to jail for 85 days. Judith Miller credit for that. And then she decided to tell. Most of them would not. The leaks would not entirely cut off, because some people would leak anyway, but most of them would leak. Most of them would be cut off. And what we would have from then on is government by handout entirely. And that's what we mostly have now. Or authorized leaks that serve the purpose of the government officials who make them, or the administration. But really unauthorized leaks that reveal crimes, errors, blunders, incompetence, deception, corruption, the things that are held as tightly as could be, as tightly as any national security secrets, they're not likely to get out even by somebody who understands that the public should know this information and it's wrongly being kept secret, because it would just be too easy to identify them, and whether you send them and to send them to prison. Even now, the risks, the administrative risks, short of prison, and as I'm saying, only 2 people have actually gone to prison for a leak. One under Obama who pled guilty, and Samuel Warren Morrison. So that isn't, practically speaking, hasn't been a big realistic deterrent. But the chance of losing your clearance, losing your job, losing your promotion, losing your access, and losing the job and career with your clearance usually means a very great cut in income. When people leave the government with clearances, they use those clearances for even higher income in private industry or in consulting in various ways. So that's out. And the pressure of that on marriages is such that one study of whistleblowers said that the average length of marriage of a whistleblower after exposure is 18 months. Average. Some longer, maybe shorter. People just don't sign up for that. The pressures that they get, having to take their kids out of school and leave the country and lose all their friends, and that's what does happen. Whether you're a corporate whistleblower or a government whistleblower, whether it involves classified information or not. Now, I said it wouldn't cut off all leaks. I can say that because it wouldn't have cut off my leak. I assumed there was an Official Secrets Act, and I assumed I was going to prison for the rest of my life. 7,000 pages, I thought, of top secrets would not go unnoticed. And in fact, I did face the possible 115 years in prison, adding up the charges that were brought against me. And I should say, by the way, right away, I just mentioned the effect on marriage. Our marriage, my wife is here, was a partner with me in this. And probably, that is, by the way, the suggestion that people have made for whistleblowers: don't keep your spouse in the dark as to what you're doing, because they haven't hit them, unexpectedly. The indictment or the loss of clearance, the loss of job is fatal, ultimately. But we were brought closer together. We were partners in this, and it's kept us together for 40 years. So I'm really lucky. That's exceptional. Okay, so as I say, I thought there was an Official Secrets Act. So having one, in effect, would not have stopped the Pentagon Papers, which led to just as big an investigation of how to stop leaks in the government as has now been instituted by Obama. There's a huge set of regulations just went out